How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about portrait photography. And do you need a studio to be a portrait photographer? The short answer to this question is no, you don't need a studio to be a portrait photographer. Now, to get kind of into detail as to what you would need is a subject. You pretty much just need a person who wants to stand in front of your camera and have their portrait taken. Now, regardless of where you are, whether it is out in the desert, out on the beach, in your house, anywhere, a portrait is simply an image that is captured from what I like to consider top of head to shoulders. So pretty much that general place. It's your headshot. That is a person's portrait. And while a studio can make things easier because you'll have the ability to control other variables such as lighting, wind, I mean, overall comfort of your subject or your client, or just the scene that you're trying to capture. You can usually have people on hand. A studio makes things relatively easy if you want to have, say, hair and makeup come through and sort of doll the person up or get them ready for the shoot. Studios can be beneficial in that sense. When I've done portrait photography with people out in a park, usually they come ready, so they'll have their hair and makeup ready, or it'll have to be done there on location or elsewhere, and then you have to go meet at the shoot. So a studio can help things with convenience. Now, a studio doesn't necessarily have to be a place that is like specified specifically as a studio. Like, you don't have to go hunting for a studio within a business park to make that your studio. You can convert your room, you can convert your garage, you can convert a shed into a studio. Now, I'm not exactly sure from a model's point of view how this dictates the legitimacy of your craft or your business. If it's in a shed, depending on its location, or if it's in your garage even. But I think that's another thing that if people really want to work with you and work to create something via photography, then they'll have the same understanding that it's what's captured within the frame of the lens or within the frame of the camera that matters. I've taken portraits out in front of a McDonald's because there was a really appealing backdrop of a brick wall and like a floral sort of plant cascading down that wall, and it provided something that looked really appealing. However, to the passerby or to anybody else who might not know, yeah, we were just standing right in front of a McDonald's, and that can be a hard sell as a photographer when you have sort of creative inspirations like that and you see a location and you think to yourself, gosh, I'd like to really photograph someone there, or I'd like to work with this location because I can see the potential. And some people feel like they have to be in an exotic location or a really expensive studio in order to create the images that you're going after. But that's not necessarily the case. You can get away with a lot. And I'm not really sure what the terminology would be in regards to photography. But I know that when it comes to film, it's referred to as movie magic. There's a lot of things that they do in order to create the feel or the look for the person who's watching. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were on location. It could be in a studio that's a huge green screen and then they add it in post. So a lot of times having that sort of discussion with a person when you're trying to be creative and they might not have that understanding of what it is that you're trying to create can be difficult. So therein having a studio would be a benefit. It might open up opportunities for you to work with more clients. But again, I don't really feel like it's something that's necessary. And I think that if somebody chooses not to work with you because you don't necessarily have a studio space, then I don't think that that was something that was going to be very fruitful, anyways. You can find so many other people whom are willing to work with you and be creative, regardless of where you go, regardless of the location or the type of studio that you have to offer. Um, it was a question that had come up. I noticed it on Reddit. A lot of people were chiming in on whether or not you do need one, but if it fits your budget, if you're the type of photographer who is generating an income off of your work, I think that that's a natural progression for anybody to want to have a creative space where you can control the environment. You can control, well, for example, if you're into artistic photography, doing that sort of out in the wild, it comes with its hangups. The elements are one thing, but another thing is, passerbyers, looky loos, to put it mildly. They can definitely dictate the comfort level of your talent really quickly. So being in a studio environment is a benefit right there as well. And sort of went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think that as I said before, it's got to be a natural progression for you. It has to work for you financially. I don't ever recommend anybody try to invest too heavy in something like this, in something that's creative. I think that you can definitely be grassroots about it and slowly build yourself up to a studio. Um, I've not heard of many stories where people just go off and do that first, um, finding themselves in a massive amount of debt to sort of kickstart their career as a photographer. I think you can get away with a lot and still earn a decent amount of coin just working with what you have. Something as simple as even being outdoors, but having a piece of fabric that you can drape behind the subject can act as a white backdrop. Or, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can be creative with. And there's YouTube that has just a wealth of other photographers' tips and tricks or hacks or whatever you want to categorize it as. But no, studios, they aren't necessary for portrait photography. Maybe, well, not even maybe, product photography. I mean, really, you just have to have a subject, your camera, and good lighting, whether that's outdoors or studio lighting, or you're just really great with off camera or on camera flash. And that's sort of my 2 cents on that. So, keeping it short, that's all I got for right now. Thank you guys for continuing to show support to these podcasts, or these quickie casts, really is what they are. I'm still working on getting guests to appear. As a father, being super busy, so it's not something that's gonna happen soon, but hopefully not too late. So that's all I have for now, you guys. Till next time.